Captain stood on the bridge of the UES horizon, watching the massive alien ship grow larger on her screens. 3 months had passed since Earth received the first message from space. Now she was here to meet them face to face. "They're beautiful," whispered Dr. Sarah, the mission's lead scientist. She pointed at the ship that looked like it was made of crystal and light. It moved through space like a living thing, pulsing with soft blue energy. Felt her heart racing. After all these years of wondering if humans were alone in the universe, the answer was floating right in front of them. The alien ship was 3 times bigger than their own vessel, but it didn't feel threatening. It felt welcoming. "Captain, they're sending another message," called out Lieutenant from the communications station. "Put it through," ordered. The main screen flickered, and suddenly they were looking at something that made everyone on the bridge gasp. The being on the screen looked almost human but different. Its skin seemed to glow with the same soft light as their ship. Where humans had hair, this being had what looked like tiny crystals that moved like living fiber. Its eyes were larger than human eyes, and they sparkled with intelligence and something else, something that looked like joy. "Greetings, children of the third star," the being said. Its voice was musical, like wind chimes in a gentle breeze. "I am High Matriarch Ra of the. We have waited so long for this day." Stepped forward. "I'm Captain of the United Earthship Horizon. We're honored to meet you." The alien's expression changed to something that looked like surprise, then wonder. "Show me your hand," Ra said softly. Was confused but lifted her right hand toward the screen. The alien did the same. His breath caught in her throat. The alien's hand had 5 fingers just like hers. The shape was almost identical, just longer and more delicate. "By the ancient light," Ra whispered, "you are the lost kindred. You are the one spoken of in our oldest stories." "I don't understand," said. "Come aboard our vessel. Bring your scientists. There is much to show you, much to explain. We are family, Captain, family that has been apart for far too long." 2 hours later, walked through corridors that seemed to be alive. The walls glowed softly, responding to their presence. Doctor was running every scanner they had, muttering in amazement at the readings she was getting. "The entire ship is grown, not built," she explained to as they followed their guide. "It's like a living coral reef, but made of crystalline structures that can think." Their guide, who called himself, overheard. "Your people will understand this quickly. We share the same gift for making things grow according to our needs." "We do?" asked. "You will see," smiled. His smile was exactly like a human smile, and that made feel both comforted and deeply unsettled. They entered a vast chamber filled with other. Counted at least 50 of them, all watching the humans with expressions of wonder and joy. At the center of the room stood High Matriarch Ra, but now could see her fully. She was tall and graceful, moving like water. Her clothes seemed to be made of the same crystalline material as the ship, shifting colors as she moved. "Welcome home, lost kindred," Ra said, spreading her arms wide. "Ma'am, with respect, Earth is our home," said carefully. "Of course it is. And now you have 2 homes." Ra gestured to a device that looked like a fountain made of light. "Place your hand here, Captain. Let us see what 50,000 years of separation have done to our shared blood." Looked at Doctor, who nodded eagerly, placed her palm on the device. It felt warm, like touching sunlight. The fountain of light exploded into colors that danced through the air. Numbers and symbols that didn't understand flowed around them. But she could see the wonder on every face and the shock on Doctor's. 89%, Doctor breathed. "Captain, we share 89% of our genetic structure with them. That should be impossible. Earth and there are over 12,000 light years apart." "Not impossible," Ra said softly. "Inevitable. Your people and mine were one people long ago. Before the great scattering, before your ancestors found their way to the small blue world you call home." "That's impossible," said. "Evolution doesn't work that way." "Evolution guided by the same hand can," Ra replied. Come, let me show you the Genesis prophecy. Let me show you the words our ancestors wrote about this day. They followed her to another chamber filled with what looked like books, but made of crystal. Ra touched one, and words appeared in the air above it, glowing softly. When the Star Children return from the world of blue skies and deep waters, when they remember the songs their mothers sang under alien suns, then shall the people be whole again. The lost kindred shall bring new gifts to add to the old wisdom, and together we shall grow beyond what either could become alone. Felt a chill run down her spine. The description was too accurate to be coincidence. How long ago was this written? She asked. 50,000 Earth years, Ra said. Our people have been watching the skis ever since, waiting for the children to come home. Doctor was scanning the crystal books with everything she had. Captain, the atomic structure of these crystals. It's unlike anything we've ever seen, but somehow I understand how it works. It's like remembering something I forgot. The blood remembers what the mind forgets, said kindly. This is why we know you are truly our kin. Over the next several hours, learned things that changed everything she thought she knew about humanity. They shared their technology freely, showing how their crystal-growing techniques could revolutionize human manufacturing. They offered to teach humans how to make ships like theirs, how to heal diseases that had plagued humanity for centuries. In return, they wanted only one thing: to rebuild the bonds between their peoples. They suggested joint colonies, shared research, and even intermarriage between their species. Our children could carry the best of both worlds, Ra explained as they prepared for the humans to return to their ship. Think of the wonders they could create. His daughter Maya was part of the diplomatic team. She was 25, brilliant and fearless. As they prepared to leave, she stepped forward. High Matriarch, Maya said, I would like to volunteer for the first bonding ceremony. His heart nearly stopped. Maya, we don't know enough yet. With respect, Captain Mom, Maya grinned, using the nickname she'd had for since childhood. This is exactly what we came here to do, to build bridges between our peoples. Ra looked pleased. Young Maya, you honor us. We'll be your guide in learning our ways if you wish. Watched her daughter smile at the young scientist, saw the immediate connection between them, and felt both pride and terror in equal measure. 6 months later, signed the kinship accord on behalf of Earth. Humanity, and though we're officially family now, united again after 50,000 years apart. The ceremony was broadcast to both worlds, and the celebration lasted for days. Should have been happy. Everything had gone perfectly. They had welcomed humanity with open arms and amazing gifts. Peace and prosperity stretched ahead of them. So why did she lie awake at night, thinking about the sections of the archives that remained sealed, accessible only to the highest-ranking matriarchs? Why did certain phrases in their ancient prophecies feel like warnings instead of promises? And why did she have the feeling that this was all too easy, too perfect, too much like a trap disguised as a gift? Maya L. stood in the garden of New Geneva Colony, watching her twin children play among flowers that grew in impossible colors. 23 years had passed since the kinship accord, and the second generation was growing up in ways no one had expected. Mama, look, 8-year-old called out, pointing at a butterfly that seemed to be made of pure light. I can see where it's going to fly before it decides. Maya smiled, but she felt that familiar twist of worry in her stomach. Predictions were never wrong. Last week, she had told everyone to stay inside because the sky was going to be angry. 3 hours later, an unexpected solar storm had hit the colony, but everyone was safe indoors. Her twin brother was kneeling beside a broken maintenance robot, his small hands glowing with the same soft light that marked all. But when human children did it, the light was different. Warmer, more alive. I can fix it, said, not to Maya but to the robot itself. You just forgot how to talk to your parts. Maya watched as her son placed his hands on the damaged machine. The light spread from his fingers into the robot's circuits. Metal began to reshape itself. Broken connections repaired themselves. The robot's eyes flickered on and it stood up, moving more smoothly than it had when it was first built. "Thank you, little one," the robot said in its mechanical voice. "I feel much better now." Beamed at his mother, see, he just needed a friend. Maya knelt down and hugged both her children. They felt warm in her arms, but not just from body heat. They radiated something deeper, something that made her feel complete in a way she hadn't known she was missing. "You two are amazing," she whispered. "But remember what we talked about. Not everyone understands how special you are yet." "We know," Mama said seriously. "Some of the adults get scared when we do things they can't do, but Daddy says that's okay. They just need time." Maya's husband appeared from behind a tree that grew in spirals toward the sky. His crystalline features caught the light as he smiled at his family. Over the years, Maya had learned to read expressions as well as human ones. Right now, looked worried. "The council wants to see the children again," he said quietly. Maya felt ice in her veins. How many times is that this month? This would be the fourth. Maya stood up, her protective instincts flaring. They're 8 years old. They should be playing and learning, not being studied like lab experiments. "I know, my love, but the council is concerned about some of the reports they've been receiving." "What kind of reports?" Glanced at the twins, who were now teaching the maintenance robot how to grow flowers in its metal hands. "The children across all the colonies are developing abilities that neither of our species possess alone. Yesterday, young on Europa colony somehow fixed a damaged fusion reactor by singing to it. The engineers are still trying to figure out how that's possible." Maya had heard similar stories from other families. The hybrid children weren't just combining human and traits, they were creating entirely new ones. "And that scares them?" Maya asked. "It excites some of them, terrifies others." His expression darkened. "There are members of the High Council who think we should slow down the program, have fewer children, study the ones we have more carefully." "Study them?" Maya's voice rose dangerously. "These are our children, not specimens." Looked up from his flower-growing lesson with the robot. "Mama, why are you upset? The colors around you are getting all sharp and red." Maya realized her son could see her emotions as visual auras. She forced herself to calm down, watching the red anger colors fade from his perception. "I'm okay, sweetheart. Mama just worries sometimes." But she wasn't okay. Over the past year, Maya had noticed changes in how some looked at the hybrid children. The joy and wonder were still there, but underneath she sensed something else, something that felt like fear. That evening, Maya met with other human parents at the community center. The group had started informally a year ago, but lately their meetings felt more urgent. "They're watching Lily constantly now," said Dr. James Park, whose daughter could somehow communicate directly with the colony's computer systems. "Every time she fixes something, there are scientists there within hours, asking questions." "At least they ask questions," muttered Commander Sarah Torres. "They just observe my son like he's some kind of dangerous animal, ever since he accidentally made that broken star drive work better than it was designed to." Maya looked around the room at the worried faces of parents who had believed they were building a bridge between species. "Has anyone else noticed the sealed sections in the databases? The ones our clearances can't access?" "I have," said Dr. Maya's mother's old colleague. "When I try to research history beyond a certain point, everything gets classified. Like there's a whole chapter of their past they don't want us to see." "Says it's just old political stuff," Maya said, but her voice lacked conviction. "My wife says the same thing," Commander Torres replied. "But did you know that there are no records of the ever encountering another species before us? In 50,000 years of space travel, we're supposedly the first intelligent life they've met." The room fell silent as the implications sank in. "That seems unlikely," Dr. Park said quietly. Maya felt a chill run down her spine. What if we weren't the first? Before anyone could answer, the lights in the community center flickered. Every parent's communication device chimed at once with an emergency message. "All hybrid children report to Medical Center 7 for immediate health evaluations. Mandatory. No exceptions." Maya was on her feet instantly. "It's 9 o'clock at night. Why would they need the children now?" "Unless something's wrong," Doctor said grimly. The parents rushed out into the night, heading for their homes to collect their children. Maya found and already awake, sitting together on their bed. "We felt you coming," said calmly, "and we felt the other children being scared. What's happening, Mama?" "I don't know yet, but whatever it is, we'll face it together." At the medical center, Maya found chaos. Scientists and technicians were setting up equipment she didn't recognize. The hybrid children from across the colony were being gathered in a large examination room. "What is this about?" Maya demanded of the lead scientist. "Routine health screening," Dr. Al replied, but his crystalline features were tense. "We've detected some unusual energy readings from the children. We need to understand what's happening." Maya watched as they hooked monitoring devices to her children. On the screens, she could see energy patterns unlike anything she'd ever seen. The children's biosignatures were synchronized, pulsing in perfect harmony with each other. "They're connecting," Dr. Al whispered in amazement. "Even separated across the room, their neural patterns are linking together." "Is that bad?" Maya asked. Dr. Al's expression was unreadable. "It's unprecedented." As Maya watched, she saw something that made her blood run cold. In the corner of the room, two officials were having an intense conversation in their native language. She had learned enough over the years to catch some of the words. "Convergence protocol. Like the old texts warned. Inform the High Matriarch immediately." Maya grabbed his arm. "What's convergence protocol?" His crystalline skin actually paled. "Where did you hear that term?" "Those officials just used it. What does it mean?" I don't know. It's not a term I'm familiar with." But Maya could tell he was lying. For the first time since she'd known him, her husband was lying to her. As the medical tests continued, Maya made a decision that would change everything. She activated the recording function on her personal device and quietly transmitted everything she was seeing to her mother, Admiral, back on Earth. The message she sent was simple: "Mom, I think we need help." She had no idea that this transmission would be the first piece of evidence that would eventually save all their lives. In the examination room, the hybrid children continued to pulse with synchronized energy, their abilities growing stronger every moment they were together. And in a sealed chamber deep within the command center, ancient files marked Purification Protocol began automatically updating their target lists. The golden generation was becoming something unprecedented, something wonderful, something that had been feared for 50,000 years. 16-year-old L wasn't supposed to be in the restricted section of the data core. He was supposed to be in his quantum mathematics class, learning about stellar engineering. But when he touched the classroom's interface panel that morning, something had gone wrong. Instead of connecting to his lessons, his mind had slipped deeper into the network than any human or had ever gone before. The data core's security systems didn't recognize what he was, so they didn't stop him. Now he stood in a chamber that existed only in digital space, surrounded by files that pulsed with warning colors. The symbols above each file were in old script, but somehow he could read them. Genesis Archive sealed by High Council order. Purification Protocol historical records. The Ascendant War final documentation. His hands shook as he reached for the Genesis Archive. Every instinct told him to leave, to pretend he hadn't found this place. But he couldn't. The hybrid children had been having dreams lately. All of them. Dreams of running through stars, of voices calling their names, of light being snuffed out by crystal hands. He opened the first file. Images flooded his mind. A world that looked like Earth but wasn't. Beings that looked human but glowed with inner light. Children playing in gardens that grew upward into the sky. And above them all, ships that looked exactly like vessels. The first line of text made his blood freeze. Historical record, first contact with species designation, Terran ascendant, galactic cycle 47,832, status, successful integration achieved through genetic compatibility protocol. Read faster, his enhanced mind processing information at incredible speed. The story unfolded like a nightmare. 50,000 years ago, they had discovered another species. Humans who had evolved on a different world, developed space travel, and spread across several star systems. They had approached them exactly the same way they had approached modern humanity. They called them lost kin. They shared their technology. They encouraged intermarriage. And the hybrid children from that union had developed abilities that threatened everything they believed about their own superiority. Opened the purification protocol files with trembling fingers. When the hybrid offspring began demonstrating capabilities beyond parameters, emergency protocols were enacted. The ascendant children could manipulate matter at the quantum level, interface directly with space-time, and demonstrated collective consciousness capabilities that threatened the stability of civilization. High Matriarch Ra's final order, total elimination of hybrid population, sterilization of original human colonies, survivors to be scattered to prevent regrouping. Saw recordings of the war, ships hunting down human colonies, families running through burning cities, children who could bend light and reshape matter fighting desperately against crystal weapons that turned living beings into ash. But some had escaped. A few ships had made it away from the slaughter, carrying survivors to a small blue planet on the edge of the galaxy, a world that had deemed too remote and insignificant to pursue. Earth. Oh no, whispered. We're not their lost kin. We're the descendants of the ones they tried to kill. He kept reading, his heart pounding. The final files contained the most terrifying truth of all. Contingency planning. Should the scattered Terrans develop space travel and make contact with civilization, purification protocol shall be reactivated. Integration period will be established to identify hybrid offspring. Upon reaching critical development threshold, full elimination protocols will commence. Current status, second contact achieved as predicted, integration proceeding normally, hybrid offspring developing expected capabilities, prepare for protocol activation. Realized with horror that everything had been planned. The joyful first contact with his grandmother's generation, the kinship accord, the encouragement to have hybrid children. It was all part of a 50,000-year-old trap. He tried to disconnect from the network, but alarms were already sounding. Security forces would be coming for him, but first he had to warn everyone. Opened his mind to the network that connected all the hybrid children. His sister's consciousness touched his immediately. What's wrong? You feel terrified. Connect everyone, all the hybrid kids across all colonies. I need to show them something. Within moments, felt the presence of hundreds of young minds linking to his. From Europa, Lily from the asteroid stations. Children whose names he didn't know but whose spirits felt familiar. He shared everything he had learned. The images, the files, the terrible truth about what they were and what was planned for them. The collective gasp of horror and fear that rippled through the network nearly broke his concentration. They're going to kill us, whispered a voice that might have been 13-year-old Anna from the Mars colonies. They're going to kill our families too, added someone else. But then's voice cut through the fear strong and clear. No, they're going to try, there's a difference. Meanwhile, in the physical world, Maya was in an emergency meeting with the other human parents when every communication device in the room started broadcasting the same message in voice. Mom, Dad, all parents, they're coming for us. They have done this before. We're not the first. Get the families together. Get them now. The hunt is about to begin. Maya felt the world tilt around her. She said to her husband, who had gone completely still, "Tell me my son is wrong." His crystalline features were frozen in an expression of absolute horror. I didn't know. Maya, I swear to you I didn't know. But you suspected something. The sealed files, the questions about convergence, I thought they were just being cautious. Across the colony, alarms began to sound. Not emergency alarms, military alarms. Doctor burst into the room, her face pale. "I've been monitoring communications. They're mobilizing fleet units across all sectors. And Maya, they're calling it Operation Purification." Maya felt something shift inside her, something primal and fierce. She thought about all the children who had grown up believing they were bridge builders between species. Children who were about to discover they were actually prey. "How long do we have?" she asked. "Hours, maybe less." Maya stood up, and everyone in the room could see the change in her. She wasn't just a worried mother anymore. She was Admiral's daughter, and she had just declared war. "Then we need to move now. All the human families, all the sympathetic, everyone who refuses to let children be slaughtered. We're leaving." "Where can we go?" someone asked. "Anywhere they're not expecting us," Maya replied grimly. Her communication device chimed with an incoming message from her mother, Admiral, now commanding Earth's deep space forces. "Maya, I'm watching fleet movements. They're surrounding every human colony. Whatever's happening, Earth stands with you. We have ships coming." Maya looked around at the terrified parents, at her husband, whose entire worldview had just collapsed, at the faces of people who had thought they were building paradise and discovered they were raising their children in a trap. "Tell Earth to bring everything they have," Maya said into her communicator. "We're not just evacuating. We're going to make sure this never happens again." In the digital realm was still connected to his fellow hybrid children. Their fear was transforming into something else, something that made the security system start glitching just from their presence. "They made us to be bridges." His mental voice was growing stronger. "But bridges can be burned from both sides." "What do you mean?" asked. "They wanted to see what we could become. They're about to find out." Across the galaxy, in every colony where hybrid children lived, the same conversation was happening. Parents were grabbing emergency supplies, sympathetic were choosing sides, and the children themselves were discovering that being hunted had awakened something in them that even their creators hadn't expected. The Golden Generation was about to show two civilizations what happened when you threatened their families. High Matriarch Ra stood in her command center, watching status reports flood in from across space. Everything was proceeding exactly as the ancient protocols dictated. She had no idea that 8-year-old human twins were already rewriting her computer systems from the inside out, or that their mother was about to become the most dangerous enemy the Empire had ever faced. The hunt was beginning, but this time the prey was ready. The attack on New Geneva Colony began at dawn. Maya watched from the evacuation ship's viewport as crystal vessels descended from orbit, their weapons charging with that familiar blue light that had once seemed so beautiful. "Mama, I can feel them targeting the nursery," said quietly from beside her. At 16, her daughter had grown tall and graceful, but right now she looked like the frightened child she still was inside. "The children got out," Maya replied, wrapping her arms around both twins. "Every single one, that's what matters." Below them, the colony that had been their home for over 20 years was burning, but it wasn't defenseless. Human ships were rising to meet the attack, and they were fighting with a desperation that surprised even Maya. Look, pointed to the tactical display. Captain's freighter, he's ramming the command ship. They watched as the massive cargo vessel, normally used for hauling ore between colonies, drove straight into the crystalline warship. The explosion lit up the entire system. He had a granddaughter, Maya whispered. Little Sarah, she was 5. On the communication channels, voices crackled with reports from across the galaxy. Europa Station to all vessels. We're holding the evacuation routes. 3 destroyers down, but they keep coming. Mars colonies reporting successful extraction of all hybrid families. 27 human vessels lost, but the children are safe. This is Admiral on Earth command frequency. All human forces, all sympathetic allies, converge on sanctuary coordinates. We're making our stand there. Maya felt a fierce pride in her species. When their children were threatened, humans didn't calculate odds or consider diplomatic solutions. They just fought. Commander Tours to New Geneva Evacuation Fleet, came a familiar voice over the comm. My son David and his team have something to show the what happens when you hunt our kids. On the main screen, they could see Commander Tor's son leading a group of hybrid teenagers in what looked like a dance around a damaged pursuit ship. But as they moved, reality seemed to bend around them. The pursuit ship's weapons began firing at targets that weren't there. Its navigation system started reporting that it was flying through solid planets. How are they doing that? Someone asked. His voice was filled with wonder and fear. They're editing the ship's perception of reality, making it see things that aren't there and miss things that are. Can they do that? No, said softly. Only we can, only the children they tried to kill. The evacuation fleet jumped to hyperspace, leaving the burning colony behind. But Maya knew this was just the beginning. Reports were coming in from every human settlement in the galaxy. They weren't just attacking the colonies with hybrid children. They were targeting any human settlement that might hide them. Mama said as they traveled through the swirling colors of hyperspace, I can feel the other children, all of them. They're scared, but they're also angry. Good, Maya replied grimly. Being angry will keep them alive. The sanctuary system had been chosen carefully. It was beyond the edge of known space, hidden in a nebula that interfered with their sensors. Admiral had discovered it during a deep space patrol and had been secretly preparing it as a backup base for years. When the evacuation fleets arrived, Maya was amazed by what she found. Her mother had somehow assembled the largest human fleet in history. Military ships, cargo vessels, research stations, even luxury liners converted to carry refugees. Everything that could fly and carry people was there. But it wasn't just humans. Ships were arriving too, carrying families who had refused to participate in the hunt. Maya found her mother on the command deck of the massive space station that served as Sanctuary's hub. Admiral looked older than her 74 years, but her eyes still burned with the same determination Maya remembered from her childhood. How many? Maya asked. 843 confirmed hybrid children safe, about 30,000 human refugees, maybe 5,000 who chose to stand with us instead of their empire. Maya hugged her mother tightly. You saved them. We saved them, all of us, but Maya, this is just the beginning. They're not going to stop hunting, and we can't run forever. Then we don't run, we fight back. Looked surprised. Maya, they have an empire that spans half the galaxy. We have refugee ships and a handful of allies. We have something they don't expect, Maya replied, looking out at a group of hybrid children who were somehow making repairs to damaged ships just by touching them. We have children who can rewrite the rules of physics, and parents who will do anything to protect them. The real war began 3 days later. Scout ships found sanctuary despite the nebula's interference. The hybrid children, working together in ways that amazed even their parents, had sensed them coming. They're trying to call for reinforcements, 17-year-old reported. His connection to technology had grown so strong that he could interface with ships from across the system. "I'm making sure their message doesn't get through." Maya watched her son coordinate with children across dozens of different ships. They had formed a network that operated faster than any computer system either species had ever built. "Fleet incoming," reported Captain from the Perimeter Patrol. 47 vessels, they're broadcasting a surrender demand." Admiral opened a channel to the approaching fleet. "This is Admiral of the Human Defense Force. You are entering protected space. Turn around now." The response came from High Matriarch Ra herself. "Admiral, you are harboring dangerous genetic aberrations that threaten the stability of civilized space. Surrender the hybrid children, and your people will be allowed to return to Earth unharmed." Maya grabbed the microphone from her mother's hands. "This is Maya L. You want our children, come and take them." The attack was swift and brutal. Their crystal ships moved like living things, their weapons precise and deadly. But they had never fought humans who were protecting their young before. Captain, whose granddaughter could see through time, piloted his destroyer into impossible maneuvers based on her predictions of where enemy fire would be. Engineer Sarah, whose son could speak to machines, turned weapons against themselves by convincing their targeting systems that enemy ships were actually vessels. But the real shock came when the hybrid children stopped hiding their abilities and started working together as a unified force. "Mama, we're going to try something," said, her hand in her twin brother's. Around them, every hybrid child in the fleet was linking hands or touching shoulders, creating a network of power that made the air itself seem to vibrate. "What are you going to do?" "We're going to show them why their ancestors were afraid of us." Maya watched in amazement as her children and their friends reached out with their minds and began to rewrite reality around the fleet. Enemy ships found their weapons firing backwards. Their navigation systems reported they were flying through the hearts of stars. Their communication systems started broadcasting children's lullabies instead of military commands. But more than that, the hybrid children began to change the fundamental rules of space around the vessels. Light moved differently. Time flowed in strange patterns. The laws of physics became suggestions rather than absolutes. "This is impossible," High Matriarch Ra's voice came over the communications, filled with terror. "The readings, they're altering reality itself." "No," Maya replied calmly. "They're just being what you made them to be, the children of two species with abilities that belong to neither." The battle lasted 6 hours. When it was over, the fleet was intact but completely helpless. Every ship hung motionless in space, their crews unharmed but their vessels completely under the control of 16 hybrid children who were holding hands in a circle and giggling at the pretty colors they were making with reorganized starlight. "Surrender," Admiral broadcasted to the fleet, "and maybe we'll let you keep your ships." But Maya was looking at something else on the tactical display. "Mom, look at this. The children aren't just controlling their ships. They're making them better, more efficient. The crews are reporting that their engines are working at 200% normal capacity." Frowned, why would they do that? Maya looked at her daughter, who was still connected to the network of hybrid children. "What are you doing to their ships?" "We're fixing them," said simply. "They came here to hurt us, but their ships were hurting too, so we made them better." "Even after they tried to kill you?" Looked up at his mother with eyes that held too much wisdom for someone so young. "Mama, we're not just human we're both. We can't hate half of ourselves." Maya realized that her children and their friends hadn't just won a battle. They had shown 2 entire civilizations a new way of existing, not through conquest or surrender, but through understanding and growth. High Matriarch Ra's voice came over the communications one more time, but now it was filled with wonder instead of fear. "Children of 2 worlds, what do you want from us?" The answer came not from Maya but from all the hybrid children speaking together, their voices somehow harmonizing across dozens of different ships. We want to go home, and we want our families to be safe, and we want to make sure this never happens to anyone's children ever again. Maya looked out at the fleet, now hanging peacefully in space, their weapons powered down and their crews working alongside hybrid children to repair damage from the battle. The hunt was over, but something much more important was just beginning. 5 years after the Battle of Sanctuary, Maya stood on a platform that existed between dimensions, watching her children work miracles that would have seemed impossible when she was young. The hybrid children, now young adults, had built this place themselves. It wasn't a space station or a planet. It was a fold in reality where the laws of physics bent to accommodate the dreams of beings who belonged to two species and were limited by neither. "The council is ready for us," said, appearing beside her in a shimmer of light. At 21, he had grown tall and strong, his features a perfect blend of human warmth and grace. But his eyes held something neither species had possessed alone, the wisdom to see beyond fear. Maya nodded, straightening the simple clothes she wore. No fancy uniforms today, no military displays or diplomatic protocols, just a mother who had become a leader because someone had to protect the children. They walked together through corridors that existed in folded space-time, past windows that showed views of 12 different star systems simultaneously. Other figures joined them. Admiral, now 84 and still sharp as a blade. Commander Tors, whose son David had become a master of reality manipulation. Doctor, who had spent 5 years documenting the impossible things the children could do. And was there too. Maya's husband had chosen to stay with his family when the Empire declared him a traitor. His crystalline features had taken on new patterns over the years, influenced somehow by his constant exposure to human emotions and hybrid abilities. "Are you nervous?" Maya asked him as they approached the great chamber. "Terrified," he admitted. "What we're about to propose will change everything for both our species." "Good," Maya replied firmly. Everything needed to change. The chamber was vast, filled with representatives from across the galaxy. High matriarchs sat beside human admirals. Colony leaders from dozens of worlds had come to witness what the hybrid children called the proposal. At the center of the chamber stood with 47 other young adults whose very existence had once been considered a threat to galactic stability. They held hands in a circle, their combined presence making the air itself seem to sing with possibility. High Matriarch Ra rose from her crystalline throne. Over the past 5 years, she had aged rapidly, the stress of the failed purification and its consequences weighing heavily on her ancient shoulders. "Young ones," she said, her voice carrying across the chamber without amplification, "you have requested this gathering. You claim to have a solution to the conflict between our peoples. Speak." Stepped forward, but when he spoke, his voice somehow carried the words of all 48 hybrid young adults simultaneously. "Honored matriarch, respected leaders of humanity, we come before you not as the children you hunted, but as the bridge you need." Images began forming in the air above the circle, created directly from their thoughts. Maya saw the history of both species, humans spreading across the galaxy through determination and adaptability, building their empire through crystal technology and ancient wisdom. For 50,000 years, our ancestors believed that growth required dominance, continued. That evolution had to follow their design. They destroyed our human ancestors because they feared what we might become. But they were wrong, added, her voice blending with her brother's. Evolution isn't about one species replacing another. It's about finding new ways to exist together. The images changed, showing the hybrid children's work over the past 5 years. They had been busy doing more than just hiding. They had been solving problems. Maya watched in amazement as the presentations unfolded. The children had found ways to heal the damaged ecosystems of 6 different worlds. They had developed new technologies that combined human adaptability with energy manipulation. They had created art forms that existed in 11 dimensions and could be appreciated by beings with entirely different sensory systems. "We propose the Synthesis Covenant," announced. "Not a treaty between separate peoples, but a framework for becoming something new together." "What do you mean?" asked Admiral from the human delegation. Young stepped forward, his hands still linked to his fellow hybrids. "We mean that the old ways are ending. Humans spreading through conquest, maintaining control through fear. Both approaches lead to the same result: conflict and suffering. Instead," added David Torres, "we offer transformation, not forced evolution like the old protocols tried to create, voluntary growth, chosen change." The images in the air showed their vision. Colonies where humans lived and worked together, where children grew up learning from both cultures, where the rigid hierarchies of both species gave way to something more flexible and creative. "You're asking us to give up our separate identities," said Matriarch from the council. "No," replied softly. "We're asking you to discover that your identities are larger than you thought." Maya watched her daughter gesture, and suddenly everyone in the chamber could feel what the hybrid children experienced. The sensation of being connected not just to your own species, but to all intelligent life. The understanding that growth happened fastest when different perspectives worked together rather than in isolation. "This is what you were afraid of," said, looking directly at the matriarchs. "Not that we would destroy you, but that we would show you a better way to exist." High Matriarch Ra stood in silence for a long moment. When she finally spoke, her voice was heavy with 50,000 years of regret. "Young one, you speak of transformation, but how do we know this path won't lead to the same conflicts we've always known?" "Because," Maya said, stepping forward to stand with her children, "it's already working." She gestured to the chamber around them. "Look where we are. 5 years ago, our peoples were at war. Today, we're sitting in a space that exists because 48 young people decided to make the impossible possible. And look how we got here," added Admiral, her aged voice still carrying the authority that had held humanity together during its darkest hour. "Not through conquest or surrender, but through parents who refused to let their children be sacrificed to old fears." Commander Torres stood up from the human section. "My son was hunted across the galaxy because he could fix machines by talking to them. Today, he's helping design vessels that think for themselves and care about their crews. That's not a threat. That's a gift." The debate continued for hours, but Maya could see the outcome in the faces around her. Fear was giving way to curiosity. Ancient hatred was being replaced by wonder at what might be possible. When the vote came, it wasn't even close. The Synthesis Covenant passed with only 3 dissenting voices from the most traditional matriarchs. But the real moment of change came afterward, when High Matriarch Ra approached the circle of hybrid young adults. "I was there," she said quietly, "when the first purification was ordered. I was young then, barely past my first century, and I believed what our elders told us about the danger you represented." She looked at each of the young faces in turn. "You could have destroyed us. When you demonstrated your abilities at Sanctuary, you could have torn our empire apart. Instead, you chose to heal our ships and show us mercy." "Why?" she asked. Smiled, the expression transforming her features with pure joy. "Because you're family, and families don't give up on each other." The High Matriarch's crystalline eyes filled with something Maya had never seen from before: tears. "Then let us begin again," Ra said. "Not as separate peoples forced together by circumstance, but as family choosing to grow together." The ceremony that followed lasted 3 days. Representatives from both species signed the Synthesis Covenant, while the hybrid young adults used their abilities to create a living document that existed simultaneously in physical space, digital networks, and the quantum realm itself. But for Maya, the most important moment came on the final day, when she found herself alone with her children on the observation deck of their impossible home. "Do you think it will work?" she asked them, and looked out at the view that showed both human and ships working together to build the first truly integrated colonies. "It already is working," replied, "Look." Maya followed her daughter's gaze and saw something that made her heart swell with pride and wonder. In the construction zone outside, human engineers were working alongside energy shapers and hybrid young people who could manipulate matter with their thoughts. But they weren't just building structures. They were building trust. "You know what I realized," said thoughtfully. "Though we're right about one thing, we are dangerous." Maya felt a moment of alarm until her son continued. "We're dangerous to the idea that different species can't work together. We're dangerous to the belief that evolution requires conflict. We're dangerous to every system built on fear and control. And that's exactly the kind of dangerous the galaxy needs to be," added with a grin. Maya looked at her children, these amazing young people who had survived being hunted across the stars, and responded not with hatred but with love. They had taken the trauma of near extinction and transformed it into the foundation for something unprecedented in galactic history. "Your grandmother would be proud," Maya said softly. Admiral had passed away peacefully the year before, surrounded by children and from 3 different species. "She knew," said. "At the end, she told me she always knew this was how it would turn out." "How could she have known?" Laughed, the sound like music made of starlight. "Because she understood the most important thing about humans. When you threaten our children, we don't just fight back. We find a way to make sure it never happens again." Maya stood with her children on their impossible platform, watching 2 ancient civilizations learn to become something new together. The hunt was over. The fear was ending. And for the first time in 50,000 years, the future was full of possibilities that no one had ever dared to dream.